I'm gonna go ahead and keep it a buck and say that film theory actually comes out with some straight up bangers sometimes, and the theories actually make a lot of sense. And that is kind of why I wanted to make this video, because I wanted to talk about a theory that they just dropped that it could really just explain everything that's going on in the MCU. And it really makes me excited for that future. It makes me excited a lot for where they're going with it, and it all comes from a movie that I think is aight. It's not horrible. It's not Thor 2. It's not Ant-Man 1 or Ant-Man 2 actually. Ant-Man 2 is worse than Ant-Man 1. It's not any of those. It's a movie that is getting a lot of hate recently, and that's because it's completely different than anything else that the MCU has done, and I praise them for that. It's definitely a movie that makes you think, and it resets the rules, and I'm talking about Eternals. The Eternals, just quick, I watched it, and I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna have spoilers for a lot of Marvel shit in this video, so be warned. But the Eternals, in my opinion, was pretty decent. It was not the Shang-Chi that you know, people were saying that it could be, where it could top Shang-Chi as a standalone film, but it is literally the last standalone film in this era of Marvel. There is nothing else that's standalone that is setting up new superheroes. The rest of them are just ones that we've seen before, but they need this one to set up the future, and that is what film theory is talking about. The Eternals itself was a good movie. It had a lot of different things. It was so much. There was so much packed into just 3 hours, which actually felt like you can feel the entire 3 hours, guys. It was startling to really be sitting there and like feeling that entire movie, because I kept looking at my watch. It was still going, and people who were saying that the Eternals, like, you didn't get attached to any of them, or they were all boring or whatever the case would be. No, they were not boring. There was comedy relief characters, there was serious characters, there was hero characters. Of course, we get the trend of evil Superman back. I don't know why I didn't see it until like the twist in the middle of the movie, and there's another twist too, where the Eternals are the bad guys essentially, and that feeds into film theory's theory, and that's essentially what's going on with the Eternals. The Eternals are beings that are, in the beginning of the movie, they're sent to Earth to fight the Deviants, because the Deviants are horrible creatures that kill sentient life, and the Eternals are heroes to save those people, and they become gods to whatever culture they try to save. But they aren't gods. They are actually sent there by Celestials, who we've seen Celestials in the Marvelverse a lot. In Guardians, Nowhere is in a Celestial's head, and even Ego is a Celestial. We get to see some flashbacks in the Guardians movies, seeing some Celestials destroy planets and stuff like that. And so the Celestials have been in the Marvelverse, but this is like the most intimate we've been with them, and they actually are the ones that propagate life in the universe. They propagate light, they create planets, they create solar systems and stars. They're extremely powerful beings in the universe that we're in right now. I don't know if it's the same in other universes, but they are extremely powerful. But the thing is that they actually create these beings, the Eternals and the Deviants. They created them. The Deviants were meant to be sent to planets to rid them of the predator species, that way sentient life can flourish. Unfortunately, the Deviants ended up evolving, and that was something that was unintended. They became even more powerful, and then they hunted down the sentient life themselves and became even more stronger and stronger, and evolved. That's something that happens in the movie with one Deviant, where he actually takes the powers of the Eternals and becomes more humanoid, which I really like that whole concept of it. And so you get that, and that is why the Eternals are sent there, because they are there to destroy these Deviants, to stop them from killing the sentient life. So basically the Celestials created their own problems. They created the problem of the Deviants, and now they're creating the solution of the Eternals to defeat the Deviants. Now, what's the point of all this? Is it just to keep life going? No, because the only way to, well, yes, to keep life going, they have to have Celestials, but the only way Celestials can be born is by just sending an egg into a planet, having the planet basically birth the Celestial sentient life, millions of sentient life's energy on that planet. The more advanced it is, the faster that Celestial grows, and then once it grows, it basically just destroys the planet it's on, and then comes out and it's a Celestial. That's basically what's going on, and the Eternals find that out in the middle, and I didn't see that coming either, because I don't know anything about the Eternals. I never looked into them because I wanted to be surprised, and I definitely was. I would go into the movie not looking into anything about the Eternals at all. or in the future, if there's new projects, I wouldn't go in looking into it. I'm trying to stay away from Spider-Man No Way Home spoilers like a plague. Like that, to me, that's something that I'm trying to stay away from. That's essentially the plot of the Eternals. By the end of that, you get the Eternals facing off against each other. They're facing off against the Superman character because they're trying to stop the birth of the Celestial to save Earth. That's essentially what ends up happening. But what film theory is saying is that Thanos was right. Thanos was right about snapping half the universe away, because they even mentioned that in the movie, where the snap actually ended up stalling the birth of Celestials and saving planets because they didn't have as much life energy to grow. And once they came back, everyone came back, it accelerated the clock again. And actually, this 5-year time period where there was less people, this changed the mind of some of the Eternals, the main leader one, where she didn't want to do this anymore, and that's kind of what starts the whole plot. Well, film theory is saying that Thanos is an Eternal, and that he is malfunctioning Eternal, so he's not really like as 100% aware about what the Celestials are and what they're doing. He just knows that he's got to save planets, and the only way to save planets is to kill half the universe. And since he is basically malfunctioning, just like the one of the Eternals that we see, the Angelina Jolie one, she's malfunctioning, and that's something that was added into the movie. I think that that's what they're explaining with Thanos as well, that he was malfunctioning, so he didn't really have the full picture, but he was trying to do what he had to do, and that's why he's called a Mad Titan. Now, this seems like a stretch, but at the end of the movie, the end cutscene, we get a character called Star Fox, which is played by the singer Harry Styles, and he literally comes in and says that he is the brother of Thanos. And in the comic books, he is the brother of Thanos. Thanos actually looks the way he does because he is essentially a Eternal inside the comic books that was had a gene that came out a little bit more like a deviant, so that's why he looks kind of like a deviant, and he looks more purple, and he was like, and that's why he was turned mad, basically, because he was like already messed up from birth. And his brother looks more like a normal humanoid, essentially, not like crazy like Thanos. So that's basically what the theory is saying, and at the same time, it sets up the future of the MCU, because the Celestials are light, and the enemy of the Celestials is darkness, which is Knull, which is basically a symbiote, the strongest symbiote in all of existence. And this symbiote ends up creating a new race called the Symbiotes, and they basically face off against the Eternals. He is actually the one, Knull, that ended up cutting the Celestials' head off, that created Nowhere. So this makes 100% sense for me, because, which I hate film theory for doing this, because I haven't watched Carnage yet. I haven't watched Let There Be Blood from Venom, but I guess the cutscene at the end of that is Venom watching Peter on TV as Spider-Man. So he just got introduced to the MCU, Venom, and so that the actual symbiote, it's not a stretch now that they're going to go that route with Knull as the big bad versus the Celestials, because the Celestials aren't inherently bad. That's just the way that they birth and they grow and they continue their population. And so this theory basically sets up the strongest symbiote, the Venom race, basically, as the big bad for the next phase of the MCU. How this fits into Kang the Conqueror or any of the multiverse stuff, I have no idea, because I haven't read that far into the comics, but I'll research stuff after I watch it. Like, I researched Shang-Chi after I seen the movie, because I really like the movie. Research the Eternals after watch the Eternals, because I want to be like, I don't want to be surprised. I don't want to know everything going in. I don't want to be like knowing the entirety of where the storyline may go, because I kind of knew that stuff for the first phase. This new phase is like deeper into the comics that I have not yet gone into, so it's exciting for me. But that's essentially the film theory, and it really shows exactly where they're going with everything, and I feel like this is correct. I feel like this is 100%, and I am excited for the future of, because Knull, I do know about Knull, and Knull is, if he is coming to the MCU, God, like, Knull has a sword. That's where the symbiote comes from, and the sword is giving to I think his name is Gorg the God Butcher, a character that just got announced for Thor: Love and Thunder, and Christian Bale is playing the character. So we are heading into that direction, and I'm just so excited, guys. I'm really excited for this. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of this new announcement, of this new theory, and see if you have any theories of your own. This is going to be Sunscape signing off. Take care, guys.